Howdy, howdy, and welcome to another wonderful Trash Take. Today we're going to watch another Fox video about Elon Musk and the DOGE team. Elon sat down recently with Fox and a bunch of DOGE team members to talk about the good work that they've been doing. And I mean good work, I mean good work. The kind of fraud they're finding, if anyone actually wants to pay for this step with their own money, please let me know in the comments down below, because there's no way, shape, or form do I think my tax dollars should be going for gay arts in South America. That should be going for spending $1 billion a year to ask people if they like how the parks in America look. Like, there's some crazy things that are receiving grants, and it's very clear now, after so many things have been cut and all these Democrats are coming out, that they're upsetty spaghetti because they have family members who are basically working for these companies, or they have family members who work for these NGOs and have been directly getting paid from the USA to these NGOs, where they then literally do nothing. They make lofty six-figure salaries doing jack shit all day long because their family's Democrats and because they're getting kickbacks. So DOGE has been going through with an axe and absolutely been taking out a lot of the fraud left and right. That's why you'll see people say some dumb shit like he's cutting Medicare, he's cutting Medicaid. He's not touching any of that shit. That's people fear-mongering. He's destroying America. He's destroying our soft power abroad. Bro, if soft power abroad is spending $60 million to bring kids from Bermuda into America to get a full college tuition and then they go back to their country, fuck that. You know how many homeless vets that could pay for? You know how many starving kids that could give lunches to in America? Fuck that shit. Anyways, I saw that Fox did a big interview with Elon Musk and the DOGE team, and I wanted to watch that now and go over, and it looks like it came out last night. So let's do that.
Doing this, I know there's a lot of interest in this.
Oh, sorry, echo.
You know, first let me start with you, Elon. What are the budgetary savings goals, and how much do you think you've achieved?
$1 trillion, right?
Our goal is to reduce the deficit by $1 trillion.
Yep.
So from a nominal deficit of $2 trillion to try to cut the deficit in half to $1 trillion, or looked at it in total federal spending to drop the federal spending from $7 trillion to $6 trillion. We want to reduce the spending by eliminating waste and fraud.
He's got some nerds with him.
By 15%, which seems really quite achievable. The government is not efficient, and there's a lot of waste and fraud. So
and they are the Department of Government Efficiency.
15% reduction can be done without affecting any of the critical government services.
I'm going to talk to all the
if
guys.
not making it better.
Correct. Do you hear that? There's a lot of useless shit the government does. Basically, the government just writes checks without any care in the world because they're not a business that has to turn a for-profit. They just use the taxpayer dime every time. They do not care and will spend so much money for no fucking reason. Look at wasn't it the Air Force that brought a bag of washers? Like, bought a bag of like $1 worth of washers from like Home Depot for like $60,000. Like, there's so many companies and so many different things that just scam the government daily because no one ever fights back on pricing. And Trump's gone over this before in pretty great detail, but it's basically just these companies take advantage of the United States government. And when they take advantage of the government, if you're a taxpayer, they're taking advantage of you. That's your money that they're spending. It's your money they're writing checks for, buddy.
I'm going to talk to all the guys here about the specifics, but for you, what's the most astonishing thing you've found out in this process?
The sheer amount of waste and fraud in the government. It is astonishing.
The amount of fraud is fucking crazy.
We routinely encounter wastes of $1 billion or more.
Yep.
Casually. For example, like the simple survey that was
the national parks.
Literally 10-question survey that you could do with SurveyMonkey, cost you about $10,000. Was the government was being charged almost $1 billion for that.
For just
an online platform could ask you these 10 questions and send an email out. Instead, the government was spending over $1 billion on this. This was the final product that they were getting grants for to do, and it was about the national parks. Really? Like, this is just like straight fraud. Like, every single time, if you look at this too, where the NGOs, like I think the one judge that said they had to restore a bunch of the U.S. aid funds or stop the firing process, look at the judges throwing up these red flags saying that the DOGE doesn't have the authority to do this, or Trump doesn't have the authority to do this, because it's almost always they have a family member that's directly related or directly affected by this, and so they, being a judge, are putting their hands on the scale of justice, being biased and ruling in favor of their family. Watch, I can't blame them, but they're a judge. The whole point of being a judge is to be unbiased. When you have biased judge, you have a failed system.
The survey.
$1 billion for a simple online survey, do you like the national park? And then there appeared to be no feedback loop for what would be done with that survey. So the survey would just go into nothing. It was like insane.
They were just straight asking with no outcome. Fucking wild. My hair looks atrocious.
Supposed to be 130 days. Are you going to continue past that, or do you think that's what you're going to do? Or?
Well, I think we will have accomplished most of the work required to reduce the deficit by $1 trillion within that time frame.
So in that time frame, 130
Yes.
days. And the process is
Because
a
they can get the
report
easy
at
stuff off the
some
rip.
point at 100 days? Or?
Not really.
They can literally just
We
sort
are
by
cutting the
incoming
waste and fuel
values
real
of the
time, so
highest
every day that
output,
passes,
and then go from there.
Our goal is
What's
to
the most expensive?
produce
Start at the top.
The waste and parole.
$1 billion here, $1 billion there,
a
cut
day,
it.
every day, 7 days a week. And so far, we are succeeding.
And I'm going to talk to the specifics, but there obviously are DOGE critics who are reading all kinds of stuff. Obviously, lawmakers
Making
on
shit
the
up.
other side of the aisle are attacking you. And they characterize the approach as this: fire, ready, and then aim. And how do you approach that? How do you respond to that?
Well, I do.
You have uneducated governors or uneducated you have uneducated politicians in America who always say there's a fire, there's a fire, there's a fire. They get the left media and the left people absolutely hyped the fuck up. They make tensions extremely high for no reason. This is an Obama-founded government. This is an Obama-founded agency with the sole purpose of going to find fraud. Go look at any clips from 10 years ago with Obama, Schumer, Pelosi, fucking Bernie, all saying that this is a really good event that is happening and this is a really good thing that's going to happen. And if you notice what they talk about, Medicare fraud, Medicaid fraud, they specifically mention that this needs to be looked at. And Elon's doing it, and now they're like, they're cutting your benefits. They're not even looking at benefits. They're going through looking for fraud cases of people that are submitting fraudulent payments to like dead people and shit that have been going for like 40 years that no one's bothered to check. Hey, how come this grandma that's 120 just got hip replacement surgery and she's been dead since she was 89? Oh yeah, pay that out anyways. Like there's such basic shit that the government's not doing because it's got fucking 20 IQ morons running it. The agencies and the fucking government, the politicians too.
I do agree that we actually want to be careful in the cuts. So we want to measure twice, if not thrice, and cut once.
Yes, they did. They made one mistake that I know of so far where they fired a bunch of park rangers, or they suggested a bunch of park rangers be fired. They don't have the authority to really fire, and that improvement went through, and then it got backtracked immediately because they thought it was someone. They thought it was something else on the ledger when they were looking at it, and it ended up being people's jobs. And that was like the one thing of like, no, these people are actually like park rangers are actually needed. America's got beautiful parks. I think it's one of the best things about this country is our parks.
Actually, that is our approach. They may characterize it as shooting from the hip, but it is anything but that.
Yes, it's an oversimplification of the characterization to build fear and to ruin his credit.
Standard of making no mistakes at all. That would be like saying someone in baseball's got to bat 1,000.
Yeah,
that's impossible.
You have to be okay with making mistakes and learning from
them. We correct them quickly.
Correct.
And we move on.
Which they have.
Some people say this shouldn't take a rocket scientist. Steve Davis, you are a rocket scientist.
Used to be.
Yeah, I know. And now essentially you're the chief operating officer of DOGE, day-to-day operations. Fair to say?
Yeah, part of the DOGE team.
So how did you end up here? What's the biggest challenge you see?
Him finding a barber.
The reason I'm here, which is probably for many, is that I think the goal is incredibly inspiring.
I can say that.
I think most of the taxpayers in the country would agree that in order to have the country going bankrupt would be a very bad thing.
Yes.
For the country going not bankrupt is a good thing.
The country going bankrupt? I don't even know what the fuck that means would happen.
To kind of put our lives on hold in order to do. I think the thing that's special right now is we actually believe there's a chance to succeed. That there's an administration that's supportive and a great cabinet and just a great group that will actually make success a possible outcome.
That guy's eyes look fake.
Given the inspiring mission,
oh no,
given
people's just changed. Okay.
Non-zero chance of success, it was worth doing.
I just like to sort of re-emphasize that point. The success of DOGE is only possible with President Trump and with the outstanding cabinet that he selected. It would be impossible without the support of the president.
Because Elon has to take this to the cabinet leaders when he goes to the departments for these cuts that come out, and they have to have a competent cabinet leader that actually has the same values as Trump. If Trump puts some random shithead in who's a lifelong Democrat, he'll be like, yeah, sure, I'll fire these people. Get the fuck out of my office. And nothing would change. Trump would have to intervene. Trump's putting in some decent people. I mean, we've yet to see any bad calls besides him now endorsing Lindsey Graham. I think yesterday he endorsed Lindsey Graham for senator, and that fucking Lindsey Graham's like some old white Southern man talks like this. He's a fucking warmongerer, which surprisingly for once, I think he actually wanted the war in Ukraine to stop, but that motherfucker's a warmongerer. Get the fuck out of office. I don't want any more warmongers in the United States. Fuck that. Walk softly, carry a big stick, not invade every country because they send a mean tweet about you.
And the cabinet.
But you're finding the money. I mean, it's big numbers, right?
Yeah, like Elon said, the minimum impulse bid is often $1 billion. So, for example, the $830 million, which was the online survey, that's an enormous amount of money that wouldn't have been found if the DOGE team wasn't working with it, in that case, the Department of Interior. But then taking it one step further, DOGE then publishes these things on our website for maximum transparency.
It's not transparent. It's not transparent. No matter how many fucking times I've had to argue with retards in my comic section or on Twitter, it's not transparent. What do you mean it's not transparent? What other department agency literally has a list, a running list of all the stuff they have currently cut that they can actually post that won't dox people or individual companies? What other agency has that? There's been more transparency with DOGE than we've had in literally any fucking department in our lifetime. And it's been around for like 10 years? Really? Like, I do not understand there's no transparency argument. The government should be a completely open book for everything that is spent to where any individual can take a look at it. Even fucking, even like our adversaries should be able to see it too. I want to know exactly where all of our funds are going at all points in time to ensure there is no corruption. If they don't set up a system like that before they leave office, then this is going to be all for nothing. The moment another retard gets into power and starts electing idiots, they're going to immediately start fucking with the budget. They're going to immediately start spending more money than they need to, and we're going to be right back to square one. It'll take maybe 10 years, but unless they do some actual permanent changes here and get congressional authority to override it too, then the judges won't ever be able to do anything. So the way powers in America work, we have Congress, President, Judiciary. Judiciary are judges. Congress is Congress, President's fucking Trump. So if Congress gives the president a power, it's finite. Judges can't do shit. If the president rules with an executive order, it can get overturned by a judge or by Congress. There's multiple ways to do this. And what you have happening right now is judges are ruling on powers Congress is giving to Trump when Trump has full authority to do what he wants to do with these powers. And they're saying, no, you can't. The only people that say, no, you can't is Congress. They have to literally revoke the power from the president that they gave to him. But the judges are throwing up red flags with the immigration shit that's currently happening. That's why it's so fucking stupid, because our systems of powers are failing and the savings aren't probably going to be ever solidified. And if they are solidified, now you have to worry about retard judges saying, hey, yeah, the president has full power over this, it's been given by Congress, but I'm feeling like it's not allowed today. Red flag, 5-yard penalty, first down, go fuck yourself.
So now the general public, it would have been impossible for the general public to have seen that. Now anyone can just log into doge.gov anytime and see these payments. As they're not yet in real time, they're close, but they'll probably be in real time within the next few weeks.
But the process, it still involves Congress, right? At some level?
We try to keep Congress as informed as possible, but the law does say that money needs to be spent correctly. It should not be spent fraudulently or wastefully. It's not contrary to Congress to avoid waste and fraud. It is consistent with the law and consistent with Congress. And we've seen actually great support, at least from the Republican side of the House.
Yeah, and the Democrats are screaming like fucking apes for no reason.
It's nice to see people cross the aisle once in a while. But
this should be a bipartisan issue.
Any of the specifics. So they'll say what we're doing is somehow unconstitutional or
they lie.
Illegal
they make
whatever.
a general statement because they can't actually say what
with?
they did is rad.
And they can't point to any.
Exactly. That is what they do.
We list them all on doge.gov.
They literally make a general statement under the assumption that the people that will see this 20-second clip on CNN will believe it without any fact checking. They will be intentionally retarded. They lie. That is what they do. It is a lie. If someone is ever giving you a generality of, he's a bad person. How is he a bad person? What has he done? Start questioning them. The first thing you can do, the best thing you can do for someone is engage them intellectually. Figure out where they're coming from. Figure out where their ideas are. Because some people are genuinely misinformed. I've had some decent conversations in my comment section with some individuals. Because I didn't know certain things about the government, or I didn't know certain things about a situation. They've actually told me, hey, there's more information here. Look this up. Look that up. And it's useful. Conversating with people can have benefits, but you should always at least try to have a conversation to see where someone's coming from before you start flipping the fuck out. Some people will be spazzes off the rip. That's not ever going to change. Some people are so ignorant they think they're intelligent. It's like the 80 IQ individuals that think they're 130 IQ. Those people are so prominent in the world that there's nothing you can do. But when you want to have an actual conversation, you can ask some basic questions to see their thought process and to see how they react. And if they're freaking the fuck out, you can't engage with them. Like, you need to have your own method of testing another individual's worth or intelligence before engaging. That's what I do.
And the Doge handle on X. And you'll see
That's why I don't like
just
politicians,
outrageous
because most
things,
time
one
they don't
outrageous
actually
thing
have any
after
points.
another.
It's nothing.
Joe
but-
Gagnon, besides Elon, you're one of several billionaires here, co-founder of Airbnb.
For example, sorry to interrupt again. The most recent JD Vance in a group chat where they leaked classified information. The Atlantic reported it was highly classified. It's going to put soldiers and people's lives at risk. And then the next day they published the group chats. So is it classified and you're purposely leaking classified information, or did you overreact and are trying to get people fired because you don't like them? Which one of these is more likely? It's classified, or they're trying to find a reason to hate Trump, to hate the presidency, and to get people fired that they don't like? Because it seems pretty clear to me, looking into this, that it wasn't classified. I pulled up the DOD's guidelines for the military Spec 2 on classifications, and there was maybe one point in there that you could have maybe argued might have slightly been classified, but you would have had to know the specific time of when they launched the attack and when you made the announcement in the group chat. You would have to know that specific time and if it was when they started, because the classification guidelines and how they work. But the whole point of me bringing this up is the fact that these individuals will purposely yell, "There's a fire," when there's nothing there, to try to get people in trouble, because they really do not care. They're like trying to milk it for content, I guess, trying to find any reason they can to hate someone. And there's good reasons to hate some individuals in Congress. There's good reason to be mad at people. But to say there's classified information when at best it's a generalized statement, and then to have Tulsi Gabbard testify to say it's not classified, and then to act like you didn't say it was classified, but this is still really going to get people killed. You're changing your story in lifetime and getting called out. You should be shamed to even exist. You should be removed from whatever power you have because you've proven yourself a mentally incompetent retard. Stop crying wolf all the damn time.
Help out.
I bumped
just
into
pulled out a
Anthony and
microphone?
Elon probably back in February, and they told me something about a mine that was dealt with retirement, and they said they needed somebody to help out to fix retirement in the government. I loved the challenge, so I jumped on board, and it turns out there is actually a mine in Pennsylvania.
Guys, I
that
worked as
houses every paper document for the retirement process in the government. Now picture this.
I made the elevator go up and
This
down.
giant
They fired
cave
me.
has 22,000 filing cabinets, stacked 10
Honestly,
high
that place looks
to house
hella cool.
400 million pieces of paper. It's a process that started in the 1950s and largely hasn't changed in the last 70 years.
Hey,
And so
bro,
as you dug
don't
into it,
fix
we
it.
found retirement cases that had so much paper they had to fit it on a shipping pallet.
Holy shit.
So
fucking
the process takes
retired?
many months,
Abraham
and we're gonna
Lincoln?
Make it just many days.
Will it be digitized or how?
Absolutely. So this will be an online digital process that will take just a few days at most. And I really think, it's an injustice to civil servants who are subjected to these
worked
processes that
for the government,
are
and
older
it's
than
highly
the age of
inefficient,
half the
and it
people
hurts
watching your
them.
show tonight. So we really believe that the government can have an Apple Store-like experience, beautifully designed, great user experience, modern systems.
Because right now it's by hand.
Yes.
Yep.
The retirement process is all by paper, literally with people carrying paper in manila envelopes into this gigantic mine.
So they can't retire more than a certain number every month.
Yes.
Bingo. There is a limiting factor. It's the
how
human
we-
factor
the
here.
reason
There's
we
no
discovered
reason
it
for
was
that.
we
No
were
reason.
Saying like, well, let's encourage voluntary retirement. They said, well, the most they could do is $8,000 a month, and even. I don't know.
That is funny. They did ask a lot of people to retire,
just
and
to
they
have
fucking
your
can't.
retirement paperwork processed, and they often get the calculations wrong. So we're like, well, why would it take so long to retire? And they're like, well, because of the mine. And we're like, what do you mean a mine? What's a mine got to do with retiring? And that's where we discovered that
was the funniest shit when Trump brought that to the press conference. There's a limestone mine with an elevator, 6,000 people a month. Are you fucking kidding me?
Like, if we took a snapshot of the mine
Fire
when it
these
first
fucking
started in the
retards.
50s to today, it looks the same.
It's amazing. So how long do you think it'll take to turn over?
We're working as fast as we can. Probably next couple of months we'll have this overhauled.
Probably 6
And
months.
I really think again
They can
like,
start
why
with
are we subjecting
so what they
our
could do
federal-
now is change the immediate process to retire people to a faster online system, but then they're going to have to backtrack and, well, no, they could keep all the historical records and then from this point forward just retire via electronically, but they probably want to upload everyone's records online. But they're a government agency and they get hacked like every other month, so all your retirement shit's going to be online. But
workers to processes that they actually have to go through a training just to retire from the government. There's a whole training program that people have to go through in order to retire. I think we can do better for them.
Aram Mogadassi, DOGE engineer. You go into these places, one of the more than a dozen engineers, first people to go into the agencies and view the computer data sets. Tell me what you're finding, and for people who don't understand how that process works.
For the boomers that don't know how computers work in America.
I'll say the first thing that got me really excited about DOGE was learning basically the state of government computers. By some estimates, government IT costs about $100 billion, and it's funding systems that are over 50 years old, in the case of something like Social Security or the IRS. So really critical systems are old, they cost a lot of money to maintain, and they can be, the efforts to improve them are often very delayed. So I thought I'm a software engineer that maybe can make a difference here, and
Elon,
That's
really what inspired me at a high level.
There's a lot of mystery about Social Security and a lot of words about it. Here's what Democrats have been saying about it.
It's absurd that Elon Musk is trying to eliminate billions of dollars from Social Security.
Elon Musk and President Trump have set their sights on
This
cutting
is fucking
Social
crazy.
Security.
This is
Their goal
crazy.
is clear. Destroy
This should be
Social
slander.
Security from within.
You're in
That should be considered slander. That's fucking crazy. This is just straight fear mongering. This is fear mongering. Him going through and stopping fraud and cutting waste from people screwing the American people isn't him cutting Social Security. He's not touching Social Security.
I mean, you're in the computers. What's happening there? What are you doing?
Yeah, it doesn't line up with my experience on the ground. And
of course it doesn't.
I'll say the two improvements that we're trying to make to Social Security are helping people that legitimately get benefits, protect them from fraud that they experience every day on a routine basis.
Yep.
And also make the experience better. And I'll give you one example is at Social Security, one of the first things we learned is that they get phone calls every day of people trying to change direct deposit information. So when you want to change your bank account, you can call Social Security. We learned 40% of the phone calls that they get are from fraudsters.
That's fucking
40%.
crazy.
That's right.
40 fucking percent of
Almost
the
half.
phone calls coming to their
and
department is
they
fraud.
steal people's Social Security is what happens. Is they call in, they say they claim to be a retiree.
And you have to hope you don't have some retard on their side, because all you have to do is brute force this till you find someone who's dumb and will just change it
where the money's
for you.
flowing. It actually goes to some fraudster. This is happening all day, every day.
Yep.
And then somebody doesn't receive their Social Security. It's because of all the
I didn't see
fraud
my
results
Social
in the
Security
Social
because of
Security system.
Elon Musk.
How do you
No, you
reassure
didn't receive
people
it because the
that what
system's
you
so
all are
fucking
doing
asinine
is
that it
not
got
gonna
stolen.
affect their benefits?
No, in fact, what we're doing will help their benefits. Legitimate people, as a result of the work of DOGE, will receive more Social Security,
On
not
average.
less.
On
I
average.
emphasize that.
Because they
as a
won't be
result
stolen.
of the work of DOGE,
Yes.
legitimate recipients of Social Security will receive more money, not less money.
All right.
I want to emphasize that point and let the record show that I said this, and it will be proven out to be true.
On average, if they have 40% of the people making phone calls that are stealing money, technically the average will be lower due to all the fraud. If they can eliminate a vast majority of this fraud, it will increase everyone's overall benefits, because then you don't have individuals who miss a month or two because they decided to, or because someone stole their information and then got the bank account changed. It would increase on average everyone's money, which is true. That is a factual statement. I've seen people on Twitter saying, that's not possible. He's not going to, I thought he couldn't affect benefits. It will only help. It will not hinder. Use your fucking brain.
Let's check back on this in the future.
So, Washington Post, the Social Security Administration website crashed 4 times in 10 days this month because the servers were overloaded, blocking millions of retirees
That's
and disabled
Elon's fault.
veterans from logging
100%.
into their online accounts. Freaked people out. Is that going to change?
Yes, we're going to make sure that the website stays online.
Yeah. I mean, but is it a result of going in there
No.
or something you're
No.
doing?
No. The amount of issues that were the Social Security system are enormous. As an example, there are over 15 million people
Elon
that are
controls
over
the
the age
internet.
of
He took the website
120
down.
that are marked as alive in the Social Security system.
And that's an accurate figure.
Yes.
Correct.
15 million.
Correct. This has been something that's been identified as a problem. Again, pre-existing problems since 2008 at least, from an IG report. So there were some great people working
Man,
at
come
Social
back to
Security
those 15 million
Administration,
people getting
Social Security
fraud
Administration that
that are about
found
to lose all
this,
their money, dude.
2008,
Think about them.
and
You're
nothing
about
was
to
done.
hurt 100.
And so
You're about to
15
hurt
20
15 million
Social
people that are
Security numbers
stealing
that
money
were clearly
from us.
fraudulent were floating around that can be used only for bad intentions. There'd be no way to use those for good intentions.
You can use it to buy a house, but I mean, There's probably more checks actually to buy a house, to buy a car, to get a loan than there are for doing government agency requirements. So you could probably use it to vote. That I 100% believe you could. But when you actually go buy a house, they kind of verify your information a little better than what the government does. So getting their Social Security though, yeah, that's probably nothing but, oh yeah, let me just call. Oh, how you doing? It says you're 160. Damn, you sound pretty good for 160. Wow, okay, yeah, sure. Let me get this set up for you. Like, fucking
so
stupid.
One of the things the DOGE team is doing is carefully and very methodically looking at those and making sure that any fraudulent ones are eliminated.
Brad Smith, working at HHS, and obviously another element is Medicare and Medicaid, NIH. What are you finding?
Yeah. Well, I'd say there's a couple of things we're really committed to in our work at HHS. Number one, making sure we continue to have the best biomedical research in the world. And number two, making sure, which President Trump has said over and over again, that we 100% protect Medicare and Medicaid. But there's a lot of opportunity. So if I take NIH as an example, today, if you're an NIH researcher and you get a $100 grant at your university, today you get to spend 60 of that and your university spends 40 of that.
Universities in America take 40% off the top for any grants given immediately for overhead costs. Also, Department of Education, apparently it was something similar where like 60% of the funds authorized for the Department of Education went to college-level universities. Not even K through 12, which is American for basically your education as a kid to where you're an adult. It went to college. Why the fuck is college getting money for this shit? Colleges are such a fucking scam, man. Holy shit.
The policy that we're proposing to make is that you get to spend 85 of that and your university spends 15. So that's more money going directly to the scientists who are discovering new cures. Another example of NIH is today they have 27 different centers. Research. They got created over time by Congress, and they're typically by disease state or body system. There's 700 different IT systems today at NIH.
700 different
fucking crazy.
IT software systems. They can't speak to each other.
They don't communicate.
They have 27 different CIOs. And so when you think about making great medical discoveries, you have to connect the data.
Time out. You said 27
manually do it.
Chief information officers?
Correct.
And most of them are non-technical.
So there's a lot there.
There's a lot.
And they're non-technical. They don't know how to use computers.
When I say that our job is tech support, I really mean it.
Yeah.
We have to fix the computers. If the computers can't talk to each other, you can't get research done. If the computers can't stay online, people won't receive their Social Security. So what we have here are a bunch of failing computer systems that are preventing people from receiving their benefits, that are preventing people from
this really reminds me of Idiocracy in the future of how shitty everything
extremely
is.
vulnerable to fraud.
But the computer systems work well.
And we're fixing
our computer systems will be fucking golden.
Does that include AI?
Everything else is going to suck. And Buttfuckers is coming soon. Sorry,
kind of changing the system overall. That's what I guess what people are afraid of is they don't know what this is all looking like, and is it going to affect me in the long term?
The media is fear-mongering this shit.
It's going to affect people very positively. So the changes that we're doing here will ensure the solvency of the American government, of the United States of America. This is what we're trying to do: is ensure that people do receive their benefits in the future, and you can only receive your benefits if the country is operating in a healthy and competent way.
Up next, how the DOGE team plans to streamline some federal jobs and agencies.
That was dumb as shit.
And
this
later,
was dumb as shit.
Elon Musk answers some of your questions that you asked via X. Anthony Armstrong, DOGE, Office of Personnel Management, Morgan Stanley banker, M&A guy.
Yeah.
You know money, and this is a lot of money sloshing around.
There's a lot of money sloshing around. There's a lot of money sloshing out the door. And if you look at the federal government and the way the workforce works, it's really a one-way ratchet over decades.
So it's only going up.
It's only going up.
Yeah.
You never take it away. So that leaves you with
it grows and grows and grows.
It leaves you with overstaffing, and it leaves you with functions in the wrong places. So a couple of examples. Duplicative functions. Brad mentioned 27 CIOs. If you kept going with Brad, he would talk about the communications office. I think you've got 40 distinct communications offices in HHS, right? Yeah.
40?
Yeah, and that's not unusual, by the way.
Department of Health and
multiple
Human Services.
offices like
that.
that.
It's not making anyone healthy.
This is not about the employees there.
Guys, let's just make it so complicated people will stop trying to ask us questions and they'll just fuck off. Holy shit. Easiest job ever.
It's just that they're duplicating
Point the fingers to a different department, let them go try to deal with their fucking IT.
that, you've got overstaffing. A good example of overstaffing would be the IRS has got 1,400 people who are dedicated to provisioning laptops and cell phones. So if you join the IRS, you get a laptop and a cell phone, you're provisioned. So if each of those IRS officers or employees provisioned 2 employees per day, you could provision the entire IRS in a little more than a month. So 12 times a year, you can re-provision.
Why would you have 1,400 people whose only job it is to give out a laptop and a phone?
Right. The whole IRS could be handled once a month. So that doesn't make any sense. And President Trump's been very clear: it's scalpel, not hatchet, and that's the way it's getting done. And then once those decisions are made, there's a very heavy focus on being generous, being caring, being compassionate, and treating everyone with dignity and respect. And if you look at how people have started to leave the government, it is largely through voluntary means. There's voluntary early retirement. There's voluntary separation payments.
You guys got
we
fucking
put in place
axed.
Deferred resignation, the 8-month severance program. So there's a very heavy bias towards programs that are long dated, that are generous, that allow people to exit and go and get a new job in the private sector. And you've heard a lot of news about rifts, about people getting fired. At this moment in time, less than 0.15, not 1.5, less than 0.15 of the federal workforce has actually been given a RIF notice. So
they're selected if they're leaving.
Basically, almost no one's gotten fired.
That's crazy. The news is making it sound like you work for the government, you're fired. That's wild, man. The news is lying? No fucking way, dude.
Access to the payment system, oversees all the outgoing payments. Essentially, those payments were going places we didn't know where they were going, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the case, Brett. As an ex-CFO of a big public tech company, really what we're doing is we're applying public company standards to the federal government. And it is alarming.
Standards that work, by the way. Public companies have to have a balanced budget. They will go to jail for fraud.
There's actually really only one bank account that's used to disperse all monies that go out of the federal government.
Government's bank account, bro? Let me hack into them.
It's a big one.
It's a big one.
It's a big one. $1 to my bank.
A couple weeks ago, it had $800 billion in it, but it's the Treasury General account. So when you hear...
Did he ever raid Fort Knox with gold? Wasn't that supposed to happen?
In terms of the fraud, you have to ask, well, why is this allowed to happen at a financial level? Well, it's actually quite simple but alarming. The Treasury, up until now, and thanks to President Trump, we're fixing this. In fact, there's an executive order that he just signed the other day, which is protecting America's bank account, because it really is the taxpayers' money. One, we're changing the culture. The culture is been not a lot of caring and not a lot of commitment to doing what's right relative to financial operations. There's a $500 billion of fraud every year. There's hundreds of billions of dollars of improper payments. And we can't pass an audit.
Hundreds of billions of dollars of improper
payments. The consolidated financial
reports. People need to go to jail, man. People need to go to fucking jail.
What that means is that if I was a public company CFO, I would effectively be removed. I couldn't file financial statements. I couldn't issue securities, which of course we depend on. Can't pass an audit.
Right. The federal government cannot pass it.
No government branch can pass an audit.
In fact, in order to pass an audit, you need the information necessary to pass an audit. You need to have the payment code, you need to have the payment explanation, and you need to have a person you can contact to understand why that payment was made. None of those things were mandatory.
Nope.
Until just recently, just a few weeks ago.
That's why the IRS, that's why the Pentagon fails every audit.
Plus agencies, and up until very recently, effectively they could say make the payment, and Treasury just sent it out as fast as possible. No verification. And so what we're doing is what any household would do.
Send $1 trillion to the Middle East, meant to send that to China. Let me fix that. They'll both get it. How about that?
An ATM card connected to that account. Everyone has a checkbook connected to that account. It's not just your children. It's not just your parents. It's your in-laws. It's your extended family. And they all can go to the account and disperse funds. No questions asked. No justification.
Yep.
No verification.
Yep.
Up next, the DOGE team targets government contracts. Cut his words out. And we'll show you what they're finding.
They didn't like that, man.
Tyler Hassan, Interior Department, you're a former oil company CEO. You're reviewing contracts before they're approved for funding. What are you finding?
Well, Elon and Steve kind of stole my thunder a little bit, but I actually found that customer service survey contract. I actually have an example of one right here. I could have done this in high school.
Yes.
Is that right? I found it.
Because I looked at the Doge website and realized you have to be a fucking retard to approve this. Like, you can just straight up look on the Doge website what it is, how much they're paying for it, and why it was canceled. And, like, you don't even have to see why it was canceled. You could read the description and be like, why the fuck are we paying for this shit? It doesn't take anyone but an IQ greater than like 60. You can literally train a monkey to look for certain keywords if it sees it. Big red stamp a no. Like, that's fucking stupid.
I found it on the weekends because under the Biden administration, there was no departmental oversight within the Department of Interior whatsoever.
That's crazy.
None.
They just let them go
we
free.
We are now reviewing every single contract, every single
They just let them go fucking
and
free.
When things come to my attention that don't make sense, I'm bringing them to Secretary Burgum, and he's been fantastic. He's a businessman. He's very supportive of DOGE. It's been wonderful.
I like this shift of people who actually care about the government being in government.
Of decades and decades.
Not people that are just like, man, I need to work a 9 to 5. Oh yeah, I got this job here. I got to do one paper a week. Shit, that's like,
I mean, it seems like
39 hours to play games on my phone.
Well, this is a revolution, and I think it might be the biggest revolution in government since the original revolution. But at the end of the day, America is going to be in much better shape.
I don't know. Didn't we get our White House burned down at one point by the Canadians? Seems like a pretty big moment.
That people depend upon will work, and it's going to be a fantastic future. But are we going to get a lot of complaints along the way? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things I learned at PayPal was you know who complains the loudest and with the most amount of fake righteous indignation? The fraudsters.
Yep.
It's a tell.
They don't want you to remove their money because they're making money off it. He's exactly right here. They are outing themselves in some way, shape, or form because they're screaming this is bad, and there's no real reason this is bad. And then they're lying, saying shit like, oh, he's cutting Medicare, he's cutting Medicaid. He's not doing that. He doesn't have the power to do that. Why are they lying? That's the question. If you want to find the root cause of something, look at the problem and examine it a little closer. Look at why they're complaining. Look at where they're coming from. If they don't have a logical explanation for this fraud, they're just probably lying. Like, it's that simple. They're just lying. You got freedom of speech in America, and these fucking politicians nowadays, they use it. They don't care. Yeah, dude, you can make up whatever lie you want. You can character slander. You can insult. You can lie through your teeth. Nothing happens.
The $2 billion to Stacey Abrams' NGO that basically didn't exist, and suddenly gets $2 billion awarded from the federal government.
Yeah, it got $100 to date before it got $2 billion.
And there are many such cases like that.
I think that most people,
that is fucking crazy,
would say the fraud's got to end.
Yeah.
They're concerned about the 94-year-old mother who skips a check or somehow doesn't get what she's supposed to get.
Right. And what we're trying to say is actually that the 94-year-old grandmother is actually, as a result of DOGE's work, going to get her check.
Is going to be safer, more statistically likely to keep her money, which is true so far.
And the solvency of the federal government will ensure that she continues to receive the Social Security checks, that Medicare continues to work, without which we're all doomed. The reason we're doing this is because if we don't do it, America's going to go insolvent. We're going to go bankrupt. And nobody's going to get anything.
Why are you guys all doing it? I mean,
I assume when America goes bankrupt, they literally have to stop all payments like everywhere. Right? And if every old person just gets fucked, all the military gets fucked, like that seems pretty bad.
4 beautiful children, my wife and I. But we have a real fiscal crisis. And this is not sustainable. And what's worse, back to my children and everyone else's children, is we are burdening them with that debt.
You're making their life harder.
And it's only going to grow.
Lowering their quality of life.
You guys are kind of all approaching it.
They're trying to fix that.
Silos, but with the same kind of goal, right? I mean, this is really Silicon Valley, private sector colliding with government.
Yeah, exactly. And we're headed in a bad path, but the chance of success exists. And just the one that just is in my head right now, which is a fairly mundane one, but I think is very illustrative, is credit cards. There are in the federal government around 4.6 million credit cards for around 2.3 to 2.4 million employees.
Jesus Christ!
This doesn't make sense.
Right.
And so one of the
every
things
other employee has a credit card.
Worked on is we've worked with the agencies and said, do you need all of these credit cards? Are they being used? Can you tell us physically where they are?
I hope they're getting frequent flyer miles.
Actually, on a different note, the rewards program the federal government has is actually not very good. That's a whole other.
It's a negotiation.
Sure, yeah, exactly. But so far, the teams have worked together.
Government card, yeah, you can actually half the amount of miles. Actually, we take miles away from you. You're for the government. You can fly further.
We're taking it easy. But clearly, there should not be, more. There should not be more credit cards than there are people. Yeah.
Joe, middle-level employees, are they seeing a benefit to being empowered by taking out bureaucracy? I mean,
absolutely. I mean, I think what you're seeing is taking the best of Silicon Valley in the business world and bringing it into the government. We're bringing the best practices and the best methodologies, and people are inspired. Right, especially on the retirement process, which I can speak to. They've been trying to modernize and get off of paper since early 2000s, very unsuccessfully.
Does he have a black eye?
Every attempt has gone over budget and been canceled because it hasn't been successful.
Why does he have a black eye?
And so,
is this bad lighting?
I showed up, and I feel like I'm here because it's an interesting problem. We can use design to solve it and good engineering, and really create a better experience for everybody.
We're talking about elementary financial controls that are necessary for any company to function. So, like, if the federal government, if a commercial company operated the way the federal government does, then it would be immediately go bankrupt. It would be delisted. The officers would be arrested. And the changes we're putting in place will enable the federal government to pass an audit. It will enable taxpayers to know where the money is going and know that their hard-earned tax dollars are being spent well.
What they need to have, though, is a law that's passed where if they fail an audit, people go to jail.
The computer systems don't talk to each other. So if the computer systems don't talk to each other, then you can exploit that gap. And fraudsters exploit that gap to take advantage. For example, there were over $300 million of Small Business Administration loans that has been given out to people under the age of 11.
Damn,
well, actually,
some entrepreneurs right there.
Under the age of 11 and over 300 million to over the age of 120.
Damn.
Definitely.
Some skeleton entrepreneurs right there.
Correct. Yes. The oldest American is 114. So it's safe to say if their age is 115 or above, they're fake.
Dead. It's a lie. It's fraud.
Or they should be in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Yes.
And we should not be giving out loans to babies. So the youngest recipient of a Small Business Administration loan is a 9-month-old, which is a very precocious baby.
9 months in, you start a business,
so
little
giga
child.
Fraudulent.
Baby boss, for real.
They will see that a kid's been born. They will steal that kid's social security number and then take out a loan and leave that kid with a bad credit rating.
Off the rip.
There was literally a baby. The terrible things are being done.
They're not even checking the systems to verify ages. Like, this is
and you can't
asinine.
Stop it? I mean,
we are stopping it.
The reason this is happening is because the two systems are not talking to each other.
Yes.
Right. And so
they're not talking to each other, and so the humans should be communicating on their behalf instead, and that's not happening either.
You don't know at the Small Business Administration that you're giving a loan to a 9-month-old, which happened in one case, because you're not cross-referencing that with the Social Security Administration data that has birth dates. So that very, very simple fix eliminates tremendous fraud, and that.
So it's not actually the individuals; they can't see
where the systems are not speaking with one another.
Interesting.
And if you just solve that simple problem, you would solve a huge amount of fraud.
Are you surprised?
So one of the ways that, like one of the key tricks that the fraudsters pull is that they will use the fact that someone is marked as live. And as sort of just that Social Security number is marked as live in Social Security, and then get disability and unemployment insurance for a dead person. Because the databases don't talk to each other. All they got was from Social Security is like, is this person alive? Yes, they're not alive. It's falsely marked. Person is falsely marked as alive in Social Security, but they didn't. But
they're still getting the money.
That person, a fraudster can now get unemployment and disability from a dead person.
And they can do it for multiple dead people,
too. It's
too.
happening all the time at scale.
Are you surprised at some of the legal efforts and some of the
exploiting
judges
gameplay
that have
mechanics?
weighed in? There's about 8 or 10 now.
Getting patched out, boys. It's getting
these
updated.
Cases that are at least temporary holds. They're being challenged by the DOJ.
Right.
Are you surprised by that pushback?
Well, it's the DC Circuit is notorious for having a very far left bias.
Yes.
And when you
look at how they voted.
The people close to some of these judges, where are they working? Oh, they're working at these NGOs.
Yes.
Oh, they're the ones getting this money.
Okay, I didn't know Elon made this point.
A system that lacks corruption? It sounds like corruption to me.
Sounds like they're
Last
immediately
thing,
being
do you
biased.
guys all see this as a patriotic duty? I mean, is that really what this is about?
It's essential.
Yeah.
Very much
I
so.
do, 100%.
Anyone saying no to
I
this is fucking wild.
was running 5 businesses in Houston, and I left that. I left great people to do this, and my wonderful wife said, go for it. And here I am. But I feel like this is me giving back to the country.
Yes.
If we don't do this,
this was a call. This is the kind of people that Trump, Elon, RFK, Tulsi, they had actually inspired a decent amount of Americans to do something to help their country because it was getting so bad. And Trump was making open calls to this. I'm going to improve this country. Help me improve this country. That's what DOGE is. It is improving the government. It's going to set the standard for the future to where the government should be operating at a much better system or a much better rate to where it won't be nearly incurring as much debt on the populace, therefore devaluating our dollars, therefore making our livable wage drop. Like, this is barely, like, this is extremely good. This is extremely good. And it's not permanent. These positions are only open till I think July next year is when they'll close. So you're here to do a little bit of good and then go back, and you have this much limited time to do so. And they're doing a decent fucking job so far. Every day they come out with new fraud numbers and people are like, there's no way we're actually spending this much money. Yeah, we are actually. We've been doing it for 10 years. No one's ever checked. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, thanks, guys.
The ship, unless this exercise is successful, the ship of America will sink. That's why we're doing it.
Well, gentlemen, I really appreciate the time today. And hopefully it took some of the myth and mystery out of DOGE and what's happening behind the scenes.
Thank you.
We asked on X, your platform, for some, questions. And
just
here is C. Sperling.
Yeah.
He writes,
Okay, no, this looks like they're just replying to tweets. I'm not going to watch this part. Yeah, Elon's actually doing a lot of more good for America than I thought he would be. I thought this would be hit the ground running, get stopped by all these judges, get destroyed by the public light, and then kind of give up. But that's not happening at all. He's been going headstrong no matter what these people are saying, no matter what they're doing, to now where you have people that are actively targeting Tesla and drawing swastikas on Teslas, firebombing Teslas, shooting at Teslas, because they've been incited by the media to basically do violence. They've been spurred up by the strong rhetoric and the threats to people's social security and the threats to people's democracy, because democracy's failing, because when Trump wins the electoral and popular vote, democracy fails. Like, there's so much rhetoric going around, and it's at this point intentional to try to character destroy and to try to destroy him morally, to try to destroy him mentally. It's crazy. Like, he's actually doing good for America. Hate him for real reasons to hate him. If you're going to be upset, that's fine. But you better be able to articulate what you're upset about. If you're, man, I was working a 6-figure salary at an NGO where we were teaching gay arts to straight white men, and no one ever showed up to classes, so I got to just basically log into my computer and play games all day. And now I have to actually go get a job with my basket weaving degree. What the fuck? And then that's okay. Say that online just so I can ridicule you. Because that's all I'm seeing is a bunch of random people complaining, or Europeans that are just saying that what we're doing is bad because of some Europeanness, because they stopped receiving funds for whatever corruption they have. Like, I don't really see any way of what USAID was doing is abroad was good. There's like maybe 5% of it that you can maybe point at that, yeah, this might have helped, but it's also going to charities that are also have like a 95% overhead. So, oh shit. So the $1 million they gave to help feed starving Africans, well, technically they gave it to a charity organization, an NGO that took 95% overhead. Oh, so it's like $50,000 going to actually help starving Africans? Like, what? Really? This is what you're dying on? This is the hill you're dying on? The corruption is where you want to, the corruption's the hill you want to die on? Just use your brains. Yeah, let me know what you guys think about this in the comments down below. I want to see more coming out of the administration. I'm tired of seeing clips and bits off Twitter of people with a bad framing or bad faith take that are purposely misleading or purposely being retarded. I want to see it coming straight from their mouth and compare the results to what's actually happening. If they are saying this is what they're going to do and results are showing that this is what they did, I don't see any fraud. I don't see any fraud at all. They said they were going in with a scalpel opposed to an axe. Kind of disagree about that. It seems like they were originally going with an axe, but now they're taking it way slower because they did get pushback and because they did make mistakes that made them look bad. It hurt their credibility off the rip. Like I said, with them accidentally firing all the park rangers and then rehiring them, that's a pretty big mistake. But they were willing to accept they made a mistake and learn from it and move forward. Mistakes are going to happen. You have to make mistakes in life to succeed. So it's crazy that these Democrats are screaming, no! Instead of actually encouraging them to look at certain places or to be careful with certain programs. Years ago, they were saying fraud was so bad in America, and now they're saying there's no fraud. Stop what you're doing. There is no Warren Bossing say. Like, come on, guys. It's not that hard. It's very clear there's conflicts of interest all around on the people saying, stop what you're doing, Elon. Yeah, that's it, though. That's enough ranting for me today. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. If you like the video, comment down below, subscribe to my channel. I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, later.